Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are in a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
It is so wonderful to not only have Stone Cold Steve Austin here with us, ladies and gentlemen. He was on our very first show. It's so wonderful to be here in our highly technical studio here in rural Oklahoma. Steve, how you doing?
Oh, another day at Dolphins down here in Los Angeles, California. The weather was kind of it's kind of gray. It got a marine layer hanging over my part of the neighborhood in Los Angeles. So I love it when it's like this. I'm having a great day. Hershey the Wonder Dog is sleeping right next to me, and I'm drinking a cup of coffee, ready to open up a can on your show.
Audio whip-ass, that's what you do.
There you go, brother.
Steve's on PodcastOne every Tuesday and Thursday. He has 2 shows drop a week. So us here on the Ross Report, we do this thing every Wednesday. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it. We had Steve on our very first show, as I mentioned, and we just talked about a lot of stuff that was really WrestleMania oriented. It didn't start out to really be intended to be a WrestleMania show, but we had a WrestleMania theme. And to finish, I want to finish the WrestleMania thing with a couple questions, and I got this list here. Where does the WrestleMania 13 with you and Bret, that would be Bret Hart for you newcomers, where does that match rank in your, top whatever of WrestleMania matches? Is it top 5? Is it top 3?
You talking about WrestleMania in general or my WrestleMania matches?
Your match, though your opponents, where did the match with Bret rank with the other guys that you work with at other WrestleManias?
Oh, man, I tell you what, I had some clashes with The Rock, and that guy was just, they call him the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. And for some reason, The Rock and I just clicked on every single cylinder. I was good for him, and he was good for me. But when you talk about Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13, you talk about how important that match was for my career, also executing the double turn in the business, high-profile match on the biggest stage in a semi-main match, which blew the main out of the water with all due respect to those 2 cats.
Yeah.
Man, that you can't beat WrestleMania 13. That iconic image of Stone Cold passing out in the pool of blood with the sharpshooter. It was just 2 guys who went out there, and we thought we were going to stink the joint out. I'm not a submission wrestler. I only knew about 3 damn holds, and it was a kick in the gut and a drop, a stunner.
Yeah.
So, we went out there, and I, at that time, I owned Chicago. Chicago was my town. It's my favorite town to work in. And I tell you what, it was a special night, and everything worked.
It did.
WrestleMania 13, Bret the Hitman Hart, one of the greatest of all time, and that match right there specifically, probably the greatest match I've ever had.
Really, I kept thinking, I've called most of Steve's matches, over the years. I had a couple of interruptions in service when I was sick with the Bell's palsy a couple of times, and I don't think I was ever future endeavored while you were there. I don't believe.
I couldn't remember. I mean, hell, damn WWE aspired just as damn many times.
Yeah,
I never didn't know what was going on.
There you go. I don't either. I don't know. I didn't know then. I didn't know when I was there what was going on. So just ask anybody I work with; they'll tell you. The match, I thought the match with Bret, considering where it propelled you, considering that he really, there's a torch passing right there. Now we talked the last time about the fact that neither of us wanted to see The Undertaker lose at WrestleMania. That was not the torch to be passed. The Bret Hart going to the villain side and leaving the all-Canadian guy side, that was big business. Because he was as popular as anybody in the territory. And he was going to become a heel. And then you have been a heel. And the double turn worked like magic, but man, it really puts you in that left lane where you could drive as fast as you wanted, because that was the break, it seemed to me like.
Yeah, and that was the break. Still a lot of work to be done on the backside of that and propel me forward, but that was certainly a key moment. And, Bret Hart gave it his all that match. He really brought his A game, which, seemingly every time I saw Bret Hart in a squared circle, he gave it everything he got. One of my most favorite competitors to work against or with, and just in general, as far as a body of work, Bret Hart is in my top three of just, if I can only watch Bret Hart matches, I'm fine with that, because I like the story that he told.
Yeah.
I like his style and his execution, his flow, everything that he did worked for me.
Yeah, he understood. He got it. And he told great stories. And, he had to fight. Last time we talked, I asked you, hey, if you were the WWE booker of the territory, eyebrows up here, tongue-in-cheek, but seriously about the booking, would you have a problem making Daniel Bryan the WWE World Champion? You said no. Well, Bret Hart is a lot bigger than Daniel Bryan, and Bret Hart at one time was considered, he and Shawn Michaels both, too small for the top title. And I think one of the smartest things that WWE ever did strategically was to downsize a little bit and get guys like Shawn and Bret as the focal point of the promotion, because it changed the dynamic and the perception of the WWE, in my opinion, when those two guys were champions.
Well, you also got to look at it like this. I mean, back in the day, when they first started, letting Bret run with that belt, and then Shawn, they were small guys, but that was because the top guys were all 300-plus pounds. Almost the entire roster was 300-pounders, right?
Right. Yeah.
We look at all those big bodies, so
too
big. All of a sudden, those guys got their break, and all of a sudden, it was a win-win for the fans, because it was great to see the big guys do their thing, and everybody wants to see the heavyweights clash. But when it comes down to watching a hellacious back-and-forth match, that's going to go down to, those middle-sized guys, a size category that I would put myself in: Ric Flair, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels,
right?
Kurt Hennig, Randy Savage. I mean, it can keep going on and on with those kind of guys. The Rock, he can go out there and deliver that match back and forth, pacing, pro style, but with bursts and exclamation points, and not just that one-speed type stuff.
Well, I always thought that and speaking of what you're talking about, that, the real smart bookers would protect guys that, let's say you brought a Kevin Nash into the territory. Well, you wouldn't have 3 or 4 more 7-footers in the territory. Just wouldn't do it.
No,
it was,
no.
If
you had one more 7-footer, maybe you'd make them a tag team, or you'd feud them together, and then that'd be it. Yeah, he's got to be special.
Yeah, and it just that's just the way that it's a matter. It's not being. It has nothing to do with prejudice for somebody that's listening. It has everything to do with casting, because you're talking about casting a entertainment program, a TV show that is an entertainment entity. So yeah, we do the old time guys, and I still do it. I still think of it this way. Well, they booked it, but bookers were cast. They were casting agents. They were producers. They were directors. They were writers. They did all those things. So all it was the casting, in my humble opinion, and we just it was cast different. All of a sudden, the premium went on the guys that could really get it on. You know, you hear so much. I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about, before I came to WWE, the most famous match that guys in the locker room would talk about in WWE annals was Steamboat and Savage at WrestleMania 3. The boys weren't overly impressed with anything else. Now, they didn't hate everything, and they were glad guys were making money, and they wish they were on Hogan's cards, because if you were on Hogan's cards, you made more money on your payoff because he sold more tickets. That was a gimme. But as far as the working in the ring and that great performance, there was one match that really stood out, and that was Steamboat and Savage. And then all of a sudden in WWE around the mid-'90s and moving forward to 2000, all of a sudden that whole work rate picked up, where you didn't see that great match every now and then. You saw it on a regular basis.
Yeah, but it also helps. I mean, like when you talk about the Savage Steamboat match, you know, if those had been two unknowns that would have went out there and had that match, it'd have been a great mechanical match.
It'd been a great second or third match.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a great match. But the fact that it was Savage and Steamboat who were over, made, and the fact that it was that match and those were the two guys in it, the fact that they were over to the degree that they were, you know, that just made it, you know, one of the best all-time matches, you know, in the history of the business. So, you know, it was funny because back in the days in the old dirt sheets, and everybody started talking about work rate. Yeah, work rate is fine if it means something. If it just means you're a buzzsaw out there doing a bunch of stuff in the ring and not gauging accordingly or listening to the crowd, you're trying to listen to response. It's not just action for the sake of action. Everything still has to mean something.
One thing that I helped when I was going down to the Performance Center, and I want to get into that momentarily, the Performance Center, amazing facility, quite frankly, in Orlando, that Triple H, Paul Levesque, has really orchestrated, created, saw it to its fruition. Hell of a facility. It's everything I used to dream about, but even about 10 times better. Because I always thought that, you know, you'd have a training facility that would rival an NFL facility where you could talk about nutrition. You have classrooms to watch your work, places to work on your promos, ample rings, a great gym, medical, everything. And they got it all there. But I think that these kids, they've done a good job there. But you talk about work rate and getting over. If you were to go to Orlando, which I'm sure you would if you had the time, and talk to these kids or sit there a day or two and watch them work, because I've always felt like I got more out of them the second day because I could tell you what they retained after day one. Basic things, if even as small as dusting your boots when you walk into the ring, just clean them off. What would you tell if the three Shield guys, and you've seen enough of them on Raw and TV, what would you say in general terms if they said, Steve, is there anything that we're missing that we need to do to get over? Do you have an answer for that question for those three guys?
No, I wouldn't say that. Well, I haven't heard enough, promos out of them at this point. I just started watching the program again in recent months, so I haven't heard enough of their promos.
So promos would be a big deal to you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Promos are a big deal to me. But what I've seen them do so far as a unit as the Shield, a lot of the six-man tag matches that they've been having, and I got a chance to talk with Dean Ambrose for about 20 minutes a while back. I got a chance to meet Seth Rollins, didn't get a chance to meet Roman Reigns. But you've got three cats there with unlimited potential, and I think, just continuing to eat, sleep, breathe the business, watch as much. That WWE network is going to have so much access. It's going to make watching some of the old stuff, the old matches, so much easier for these guys just to put in stuff. So it's at their disposal to watch and continue to watch and digest as much as they can. the more you put into this business, and just like life, the more you get out of it. So a little bit more on the promos. I haven't heard enough of that, but as far as mechanics go and charisma and what I see out of these guys in the ring, they're all three unlimited potential.
And some people are such fans of them because they were fresh and they were hip and they had a different presentation. They had vignettes. They got on a roll. They became an important entity on Monday Night Raw because they showed up in a unique way of arriving, and then they were successful. They got on a roll. There wasn't any 50-50 booking. They got on.
Jim, and yes, you're right on all points there. But there are certain guys. WWE's creative team hit that one out of the park, and we'll see where it continues to go. They've missed the boat with a couple of guys who I think are supremely talented. Antonio Cesaro, I think, is a superstar in the business. That kid, I still don't think that's the right gimmick for him.
Yeah.
Then there's a couple of guys. I don't want to just start dropping names, but he's one of the guys that I think is a diamond in the rough. They just got to put the right thing on him, and I don't know what that is. I actually got a chance to talk to Bray Wyatt the other day, and that kid's really got his head in the right place. He's really doing his homework on that Bray Wyatt stuff, and I'm digging what I'm seeing out of those guys too. But they got the creative right with the Shield and gave them a great gimmick.
I agree.
And they haven't done that. And there's some good kids down there who are just kind of going through the paces, and they're going to be ringmasters. Hopefully they're there for a year or two, and they say, hey, this is not working. I've got to come up with something on my own, take the initiative, go see the old man, and I say that with respect. That's Vince McMahon, and pitch your idea.
Yeah, hey.
It's all about, as long as you're in the machine, as long as your foot's in the door, do what they're telling you, but then think outside the box, recreate yourself, present it to the old man, and, sometimes you got to switch gears and take the initiative.
Well, I believe that, first of all, you want to get that jersey. You want to get on the team.
Yep.
The second thing is, I'm not crazy about playing special teams, but that's where they got me right now. So guess what? I'm going to be the baddest ass special teams player on the entire roster because what I want to do is I want to play linebacker. And I want to be the starting middle linebacker. That's my goal. So the great thing about the Attitude roster is that you could have great respect for the starting middle linebacker, let's say, but that was a position that you wanted or maybe two other guys wanted. I love that. I think that's one of the things that helped sustain 83 weeks in a row of losing the ratings to WCW on Monday Nitro was the fact that we had a locker room full of ball players that by God, just would not accept losing and was going to keep digging until we turned the corner.
Well, I mean, it's a competitive industry, and if you got thin skin, the wrestling business ain't for you. And if you're going to just settle for second best and not give everything you got, you're not going to go very far in anything you do. So you got to be driven.
Yeah.
I tell you what, with that performance center they got down there in Florida, and they're trying to facilitate their needs. They need more superstars. They're offering premier, top-notch A1 training, best facility in the world. So they see that. I think they're going to try to arm these guys to the teeth with great training and great, teaching of promos. At the end of the day, it's all about, someone getting inside their head and seeing if they can come up with a better gimmick than they're being given.
Steve, what aggravates me sometimes is I read, and I know that sometimes it's the boys talking, because I've heard it. I mean, when I was in charge of talent relations, sometimes there's a good thing about getting older because you forget stuff. And sometimes I forget stuff that happened on the job in a meeting with a talent in those little offices at TV. And then something will remind me of it. And I'm thinking, why the hell did I remember that? That was a lousy-ass conversation. Let me ask you, okay, let's get to the Twitter thing here. We got, what do you miss most about being on the road? Quick answers.
Nothing.
Atta boy. I hear
No, a quick answer. I miss the adrenaline when that glass breaks. That was a great thing. But again, I got that out of my system. I'm a civilian these days. I don't miss the travel.
If we were in the territory days, and life had taken a different turn, would you have been a booking candidate?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's interesting. You and me book on the telephone all the time. You and me start, either you call me or I call you, and inevitably we talk about the business and we'll start booking.
Hey,
or maybe we're booking. Sometimes we're booking the United States. What's going on in the political system.
I think that you and I handled all the NFL issues, off the field issues, very well this year. It's just too bad that nobody knew our solutions to these rampant NFL issues and college football issues, but you and I.
I know. You and I talk about all kinds of stuff and do our own booking, but specific to the business of pro wrestling, and I will always call it pro wrestling, I was a guy that if you give me a steak, I can put some salt and pepper on it. I don't want to just, go ahead and carve up the entire cow and do the thing myself. So I didn't like big picture booking, but I could damn sure, if you give me a storyline, I can finesse it a little bit and make it better. So booking, I would like to help with booking, but after the finished product. I'm not good at the big picture stuff.
And that's, I told people this, and tell me, and you correct me here on the air, I don't care. It's just the Ross Report, and because I'll be back next week, and you'll be doing your thing on PodcastOne, and everybody's going to be podcasting their asses off. But the issue here is, I used to tell people, Steve had a unique ability to tell you what he did not like. And sometimes he couldn't tell you for sure why he didn't like it. And more often than not, he didn't have a concrete solution, but his instincts told him, this ain't right for me. And is that fairly accurate?
Yeah, one time someone said Triple H buried me in an interview where I'd show up to Creative or show up to Monday Night Raw, and I'd just say, well, I don't like that. That ain't worth a damn. I ain't going to do it. And people thought he was knocking me. He wasn't knocking me. That was the truth. And I jazzed it up with a little bit more salt and pepper on language. I was very vocal about, no, I was not going to do that because it sucked. And I didn't have an alternative plan. And that's the thing when you're dealing with any kind of problem, but specifically with Vince McMahon, if you don't like anything, it's okay to shoot something done, but have an alternate plan that you're willing to offer up to help solve the problem at hand, and so we can get into Monday Night Raw. So many times, man, I'd show up and say, no, I ain't doing that. And they could look at my eyes, and they knew that they weren't going to talk me into doing anything I didn't want to do, so that's just the way it was.
We are going to take a break. I'm going to play word association. We come back with Steve. He's going to really like this. And I got to ask him about some of his projects on CMT. Our Twitter follower asked about if you had any interest in being in the beer business. And there's several things here we're going to get to real quick, but I got to say thank you to all the sponsors. They're paying the bills. They're keeping us on the air. The show is doing great, where it's better than we ever dreamed it was going to be, but it's not nearly as good as it's going to get, all because of the folks that listen and the wonderful people that sponsor us being here every week. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. I have dubbed myself the potentate of podcast. I think that's going to take off. There may be a damn T-shirt in the mix somewhere. And we are, of course, joined today by Stone Cold Steve Austin. We are talking about things from the Twitter world. Steve is Steve Austin, at Steve Austin with a capital BSR. And that means Broken Skull Ranch. And you can look on Steve's website and you can buy all sorts of very cool Broken Skull merchandise. I think that is a wonderful idea. And if you put a gift pack together of Stone Cold merchandise, and then you slip over to www.shop.com, you can buy some JR's product, and you got probably one of the most multi-orgasmic guy gifts in the history of guy gifts. I mean, this is better than that Duck Dynasty stuff. This is a big deal, Steve. I think you and I should make a cold call to Walmart in Bentonville and see if we can't get on the shelves.
Those people told me, I think about a year or two ago, that I was too yuppie or cosmopolitan to sell stuff in their store.
Wow.
We were getting into some hunting product.
Cosmopolitan. Hey, is there any money turning John Cena heel?
No, there's nobody turning John Cena heel. You do not want to turn John Cena heel. He is the face of that company. You know, he's the most liked athlete in America, surpassing Kobe Bryant. Kids love this guy. They look up to him. He's done so many Make-A-Wish grants. He's got a smile on his face. He's All-American. He's good. It sounds like a great idea because you can go to arena and they'll say, you know, let's go Cena. Cena sucks. Hey, man, they're just messing around with that cat. I talk about with John with great respect. He's walking on the edge of a razor blade. I don't know how he does it. I've never seen anybody else have the kind of run that he's having. And no, you cannot turn him heel. There's no money in it, and he is the face of the company. And you cannot have the face of the company trying everything he can to be hated. It does not work. There's no money in it.
I agree.
I respect John Cena as much as anybody I've respected in the business of pro wrestling.
Wow, that's great. That's saying something. Hey, here's what I look at it this way. Number one, I agree. I said that, and I argue with people. I have these little Q&As on my website, jrsbarbq.com, jrsbarbq.com, and I'll answer questions on there pretty regularly from folks. And some people just can't understand my logic, but you hit it nail on the head. I mean, you covered every base. You can't turn your back on all that merch. He's already got a portion of the defiant young male demographic that make a little noise at him. So what are they going to do? If he was a bad guy, does that mean they'd cheer him so they could be defiant? I don't know.
Right.
And then how do you tastefully get all these kids that look up to you and want to be you because of what he stands for? How do you get all the kids? How do you turn on the kids? I can see turning on adults. I've seen that all my life, but I don't know that I would be a smart enough booker to orchestrate how John Cena would turn on children. And I don't know. Is it my goal to make the kids cry? I don't think so.
Well, let's look at it like this. You know, I was the guy that turned myself heel in WrestleMania 17 against The Rock. That was my idea. Vince always liked to do something big at WrestleMania. He didn't have anything big other than the fact that we had a hellacious match, one of the greatest matches of all time. I wanted to turn heel because I've always loved working heel. And I just figured, hey, when you have a hot babyface run, you know, you just turn heel, you're going to be a hot heel. Well, timing has to be there for that to happen. And so people, like you said, no one wanted to, you made the comparison of myself to John Wayne. No one ever wanted to hate John Wayne. No one ever see John Wayne work heel. So my turn was ill-fated from a business standpoint. Now, from a creative standpoint, as that character, I got a chance to push the envelope in many different directions and go down the road of some comedy and humor when I had 3 broke bones in my back doing skits with Kurt Angle as a means for survival. But from a box office standpoint, I suffered in merch. The company suffered in ticket sales and pay-per-view rates, and it was not a successful endeavor. So that being said, and looking at white meat, young, clean, handsome, babyface John Cena, he must remain that guy.
I agree. I agree, and I have the only thing that I believe that, and we might get not an argument. We might disagree. Here's the thing: in the WWE right now, it's not like you could go if you want to freshen up as a character, and you're in WWE. Where do you go? What do you do, Steve? If you say, man, I've been on TV now. This is like X number of years in a row, and I haven't taken any significant breaks. I've been lucky enough. I'm sore. I'm hurting, but I'm not. I'm still upright. Where do you go to freshen up? I'll tell you where you go. You go home.
Right.
Or if it's a bad scenario, you go to rehab. Or you go to, God forbid, jail, or something along those lines. I mean, the best scenario for you as a talent to freshen up is to go home. And we talked about the CM Punk thing the last time you were on, and you know, he went home. He got burned out. He was on the road. He was bore down 8.5 years of a breakneck schedule, and his body was hurting, and he was fried, and he hated career, and he despised the creative, and he had enough. I'm tapping him out. I'm going home. He went to safe land, home. So now, the only thing I have issue with any of the guys that WWE's built around is the fact that they don't get the opportunity to take much time off. And so if you don't have much time off, Steve, how do you kind of half-ass reinvent yourself a little bit? You add a little bit of this or a little bit of that. When you got your back hurt, you know what you added to your repertoire? Not a moonsault. You added comedy. You added more personality. Stone Cold smiled in that era more than he had smiled previously to date. So you changed. And I'm just saying that the one thing that I think that the wrestlers of today, no matter what company they're with, TNA, Ring of Honor, WWE, whatever, they get into a rut, they get in the comfort zone, and when your ass is in a comfort zone, if you're a sales manager and you got a sales staff full of guys in comfort zones, you're going to be out of work because they're going to get rid of you or your sales staff altogether independently because they quit. When you get in the comfort zone, you quit growing. And I think that's the only thing I see about the WWE top guys. I wouldn't change Cena to a heel, but I would certainly encourage him to I'd give him some time off and let him freshen up, and he would be better in the long haul. That's my opinion. Maybe they can't afford to do that.
Yeah, but again, I think you're right. Just a little bit of time off, and that's the bottom line. Time off.
Yeah, be smart. Be smart. Just book it. In other words, if you had a system where a guy after X number of weeks, he's off. Hell, they got to be, I can barely turn my damn iPhone on, but I bet you some smart guy could probably do a schedule to where when a talent was booked for X number of days, they automatically dropped off the list, so you couldn't use them type thing. I mean, you could play with it, but there's got to be a way to do that in my view. Where is the original Smoking Skull belt?
In my safe.
Oh, so you got it?
I got it.
That damn guy.
I got the Intercontinental belt that I won back from Owen. The night I got dropped on my head there in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Yeah. I got the old Winged Eagle belt that Sean had. I won from him at 14 with the broken side off of it there in the safe. I've got a couple of those things. Got the old World Television title from WCW.
Really?
In my safe. Yeah. I've got a safe here, Fort Knox safe, best safe in the world. It's full of championship belts. That's
pretty cool. That is very cool. Hey, it's funny how the TV title used to really mean something in some promotions, isn't it?
It is.
The TV title down south was kind of the equivalent to the Intercontinental title in WWF at the time. The guy
who's going to be on somebody can work your ass off.
Yep.
Just make somebody look good and hang on to that belt.
Yeah, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I wrote about this the other day in a blog, and I guess it just reinforces that I'm an old fart. But, I don't, because you take away time limits off all matches unless there's a special occasion. So you eliminate all time limits. It reeks of showbiz oozing out of every crack of the ring because no sporting event that I'm aware of, I'm sure there probably are, has a time limit.
Right.
Of some kind, right? I mean, so by doing this, you eliminate a draw. Now, if I told you that hey, Steve, I think that occasionally, me and you let's say we're writing TV, and I say, I think that we can have the occasional draw. Would you think I was crazy?
Oh, yeah, I would.
So you think that people now are so accustomed to even a non-finish that a well...
non-finish, yeah, non-finish DQ, something like that.
Well, all I'm saying is that I don't know, the rules are so lax that what do you got to do to get disqualified? Because
let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to the Royal Rumble where Brock Lesnar came down the ring. Big Show was already there and started shellacking him with the steel chair. Now, back in the old days, they would have sent down 10, 15 refs. Okay, and even before that, Jack Tunney would have come down and restored order, and might have even just called off the match to begin with.
Right.
But anyway, poor Mike Chioda was put in a real tough spot, and I love Mike Chioda. He's a hell of a damn ref, but nobody came down. He's trying to stop Brock Lesnar, and then all of a sudden he just kind of asks Big Show if he's okay. Then he starts the match. It's just I don't know. I just totally segued off.
It was a disconnect. The match was a disconnect because how do you allow a competitor A with a weapon to beat up competitor B and still have the match?
Yeah.
I miss that because in the old days, number one, Big Show, who was the fan favorite, would have had allies. Somebody in the back that was a fan favorite, a babyface, would have had enough compassion to come out there and stop this travesty.
You would figure that he had one friend back there.
One friend.
Back in the old days, man, guys would run out and help their brothers out.
Yeah, and
I guess old Big Show has alienated everybody in that dressing room, and it didn't have a friend one back there that's going to come help him out, or they were scared of Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and there wasn't.
And he is a force to reckon with. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. There wasn't an abundance of referees there for that deal either, as I recall. But nonetheless, I just believe this. I believe that two skilled workers can have a 10-minute match with a time limit on television, and occasionally it's a draw, and you're not gonna have an uprising or a revolt.
No, I'm okay with the time limit draw.
So and now we can't have a time limit draw because why?
Right.
We got no time limits.
Right.
So now you've just taken one of your logical, believable, whether you're a hardcore fan or a casual fan, a logical finish has now been completely eliminated from consideration, and I don't get that. That's like it doesn't make sense to me. I'm an old guy. I'd like to see you could have a draw. I think you'd have a draw now and then. It's not a bad thing. Let me ask you this question. Back when I remember booking you in live events, when you really started rocking and rolling, and I would get pressured from Vince to put you in tags because you were so valuable, and everybody's got an expiration date, some sort of DNA on them. We don't know when it is exactly. We just hope we can guess good and stay ahead of the curve. But everybody's got an expiration date. So he wanted me to book you in tags a lot on the live events, and I remember doing that. And I don't know, you got a booking sheet at TV, but of course, like half the guys there, you didn't look at it, which is fine. So you get to the town. I remember calling the office, Friday town, and I was still at work probably around 6 or 7 o'clock, and you want to know why you were booked in a tag. And I explained why you're booked in tag, and that Vince thought it was best for you. Pace yourself. And man, you were hotter than hell. You were mad. And so I said, well, can we get through tonight and let me get a chance to fix it by tomorrow? And you reluctantly did it. I don't even remember who you were teaming with. It might have been Taker. I don't know. Could have been. I don't know who it was. It was another top guy. It wasn't like it wasn't you and Howard Finkel against Harvey Whippleman and, Sid Vicious. It was a top guy. But what was your issue about the not liking the tags? Because people are going to say, well, God, Steve and Brian Pillman were a great team as the Hollywood Blondes. I've always said, well, it's a different place, a different time.
Well, you're right. It was a different place at a different time. And, that's one of the big problems I had with tag team wrestling because, if you're getting pushed as a tag and your partner goes down, he blows his knee out, man, there you go. Now you're on your own. You've invested all this time together to build that team up. Now you kind of, that's not a good situation to be in. So I always wanted to be self-reliant, and I loved tagging with Flying Brian Pillman as the Hollywood Blondes. So I loved every minute of that. I was mad when they split us up. So anyway, keep going into the future, back on the singles path, self-reliant, do my own thing. I didn't like tag matches just because, hey, I was a singles wrestler, so I wanted to be booked in singles matches. I understand, the fact that, take a little bit of the workload off of me by, when you get in a tag match, theoretically you're doing half as much work as you would have because you've got the other guys in the ring to help you and for the other guys to do their part and to put in that time and tell that story. But I just, and I'm a fan of watching tag team wrestling.
Me
and
too.
I was a part of some great matches that I loved being in. But when Stone Cold Steve Austin is coming down that ramp, the glass is broken. Here I come to the ring to open up a can of whoop ass. I want to do it by myself with some other cat, one-on-one in the ring with a badass referee.
Well, I'll apologize now for back. I don't remember what year it was.
Well, the logic is sound, and I remember having those conversations with you guys a couple of those times.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, and hey, man, I was running hard and living hard. So I needed someone to help me take care of myself. I can admit that now.
Yeah, we wanted to do the right thing, but here's the deal: if it was going to cause more stress and more mental angst than it was going to help on the physical side, then we were sending good money after bad. Didn't make any sense. So that's why you stopped being booked in tag matches, and when you were at at the top of the mountain, they got to see Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now I had another. Vince and I had another issue, not an issue, but a philosophical discussion. He said, well, you ought to get Steve on early and get him out of there. Okay. Okay. Well, I knew where that was going to go. You were going to say, I worked my ass off all my life to get here. I've worked hard to get in the main event. The main event goes on last. I'm going to go on last. So I didn't even bring it up. Every now and then I might bring it up just so I can cover myself with Vince. And he said, well, did you talk to Steve about going on early? Yep. He didn't want to. He wanted to go on last. And he was very adamant about it. So I didn't push the issue.
Man, there was a couple of times when I did that because it was new to me. And I was like, hey, man, I don't know if this is a slap in the face or if it's to help me out. That number 4 spot, and then intermission, then you take a shower and get your ass down the road to the next shot.
Yeah.
If it was a double shot or whatever the scenario was, to get on the road traveling. But, man, I tell you what, you live to be in the main event. The main event is at the end of the show. I was talking to Dutch Mantell a while back, and, sometimes the main event would go on number 4 because they had so much heat down there in Puerto Rico. They did it for the safety of the wrestlers to get their ass out of the building.
Yeah.
Because if you went on last, then people were going to wait outside.
They're waiting on you.
Probably try to kill you.
They're waiting on you. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
But anyway, from a performance standpoint, everybody in that dressing room wants to be the last guy in that ring. That's the bottom line. Main event.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, hit me with these one or short answers on this word association thing. I'm just going to give you some names, just some different guys. Ricky Steamboat.
One of the greatest of all time, one of my favorite guys to work with, a guy who was instrumental in getting my chops up in WCW. I've worked with him a million times, love him.
Great mentor. He was great. He coached you up there, man. No
Great
doubt.
fire. No, you don't have to tell Ricky nothing. I mean, we're going to do our thing, but he's going to do his thing. You grab Ricky in a headlock, he's going to top wrist lock. He's always had a counter for everything. You didn't have to tell him to do nothing. He could work.
Yeah. Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, the American Dream, one of my favorite promos of all time. Went to high school with my mother, Austin, Texas. Me and his son, Dustin, born in the same hospital. The American Dream is one of my favorite pro wrestlers of all time, and I loved what he did. He was a big guy who could work his ass off. Some people say his work wasn't that great. Bull cord. Dusty Rhodes was the most charismatic, great of a worker that was ever in the squared circle. Respect.
He drew money. I'll guarantee you that. He drew money and he could talk. Sting,
the icon. I'll tell you what, this is an interesting cat. Been around forever. On top down there in WCW, then on top down there in TNA. It's funny, Dave Meltzer says he never really drew any money. I don't know about that, mister. It depends on what kind of money you're talking about drawing. I think Sting has had a tremendous run. The only thing I think that'd be interesting, I'm not going to say he should because I'm not going to talk for Sting. The only thing I'd like to see out of Sting, I'd like to see him go to the big show. I'm talking about WWE and get about a 1 or 2 year stretch in if it's within his physical or capabilities or he even wants to. But a guy who has been around for a long time at a real high level.
Do you think that, a quick thing here, should Sting and Undertaker have a match someday?
Hey, why not? I mean, I'll tell you what, when you put that thing down on paper, it looks intriguing as hell.
Yeah, I agree. Interesting build. Could be a lot of soap opera there if it had long enough to build.
Absolutely.
Last two here, Vince McMahon.
Crazy-ass genius. I tell you what, you've been there through half my battles with Vince McMahon, Jim. And, I tell you what, I love that guy. And he gave me an opportunity, and he listened to me when I had some ideas, and I broke out, and then we started feuding. And out of all the people I've been in the ring with, just at a face-to-face level, he mirrors back exactly what I'm given. Just pure, flat-out hatred, energy for a human being in a combative or competitive element, and it's a work. But his intensity is so great. I loved working with Vince McMahon. Now, we had our personal issues. At times, I hated his guts. At times, I hated the stuff that they did on TV when they was ribbing you on the square, and that really pissed me off. But I learned more working with Vince McMahon than I did in 5 years of college. He's the greatest promoter in the history of the business, and I respect the living hell out of him.
Yeah, he's a genius. There's no doubt about it. And I guarantee he's not Switzerland. He's not neutral. He's you either love.
No. That dude has guts.
Yeah.
He's got passion. He's got heart. He's got brains. And he'll go out on a damn limb. You ain't got to push Vince McMahon. He is a leader and not a follower.
Yeah, and I love his swagger. I want to live to be 68, and I want to live when I'm 68 to have the same drive. That son of a gun is the hardest working human being. I thought Bill Watts was a hard worker, and he was. He really was. I thought that Ted Turner was an amazing visionary when I knew him, and he was. But I haven't seen anybody come close to the work ethic of Vince McMahon. Now, anybody listen, you don't have to love, I didn't love every one of Walt Disney's movies. Some of the animated movies I thought was a little less than what I need to watch. Now, throw me a good old Davy Crockett out there, a little Yeller, kind of, I'm okay. But McMahon's a Disney. You may not like everything he's done, but you got to look at the theme park and look at what he's built, look at that thing he's built. Pretty damn impressive. Well, no one in our business will ever approach McMahon's accomplishments without question.
Man, and look at what Monday Night Raw's done on television. Jesus Christ, the run that show has had. And the thing with my podcast, I do my podcast for the working man.
Yep.
I don't know anybody that works harder than Vince McMahon. So if he's driving around in a $200,000 Bentley and he's got a $20 million mansion there in Greenwich or whatever, that son of a buck earned every penny he's got. Bought the business from his dad,
Yep.
Put everybody else out of business, and it was all pure D hard work.
Absolutely. Hey, what are you going to do on what's coming up on anything you talk about on CMT real quick?
Oh, man, yeah, I don't know when this show is dropping, but we're fixing to go out here and film the Broken Skull Challenge. It's going to be a show where I take 80 elite athletes, 8 men and 8 women. Now, they'll all compete separately, men versus men, women versus women. Head-to-head challenges. We'll pair them up. That'll take us down to 4, 2 to 1. And that final person gets a chance to run my obstacle course called the Skull Buster. The Skull Buster, Jim, is designed specifically to whip a man or woman's ass.
Yeah.
You either make it or you don't. And so if you think you're the toughest buck in America, you come down to the Broken Skull Ranch and do the Broken Skull Challenge and prove it to me. We're getting ready to start cameras rolling in a couple weeks as we speak.
That's great.
I think that we'll get another season out of Redneck Island. I think we're going to try to move that to the States instead of Mexico. I'm still waiting on word from CMT. That's not 100%, so I can't say for sure. I've got a couple of other things I'm working on the download that I'm not talking about right now, but my schedule is full. My schedule is as full as I want to be, and you know what? We're dropping 2 podcasts a week. You got to take so much time to do that.
It does.
And I know you're enjoying the success that you're having with your show. And I knew your show would be a hit as soon as you said you were going to do one, and you and I have been talking for a while about this. So congratulations to the success of your show. You know how busy that is. So, hey, man, I'm swinging it, and I got irons in the fire. We're going to see what happens next, and things are going good for me out here at the Broken Skull Ranch, Los Angeles location.
Sounds good, man. Hey, next time I come out to L.A. and I meet with the Fox people, I will I'll give you a heads up, and I think it's probably my turn to buy dinner.
It's your turn to buy dinner, and then we got to go down to Beverly Hills. I mean, you got to see the new studio that Norm Pat has built over there at PodcastOne.
Well, I tell you,
it's so badass, and it's homey, it's perfect, it has atmosphere. I know you're doing your thing. I don't want to give away your secret location.
I got this top secret.
Where you're broadcasting out of.
Top secret.
But they got a hell of a facility out here, brother.
Well, all I can tell you is that the facility that I'm in is on a major highway, and it used to be a gas station, damn it. So we got a hell of a situation here. I can't tell you how luxurious it is, and but we're having fun.
Yeah, I do some of my best work sitting right here in my office with my little Zoom recorder that I told you about.
Yeah, I'm getting
the clock on the table.
Yeah.
Hell, Steve Regal just came by today. We sat down at my desk and talked for 2 hours.
He's a low talker.
Not having a fancy setup. Hey, check it out. Minnesota Fats could walk into a pool hall with a crooked stick and beat everybody in there that's got a $1,000 stick. So the magic is, and the guy doing the podcast, I think you and your guy down there in Oklahoma somewhere are going to do just fine.
I think we're going to be all right as long as we can cohabitate with the Moonshiners and the other Appalachian Outlaws and things of that nature here in the heart of Native American country. It's going to work out good. Well, Steve, look, thanks for all your time. Good luck on all the CNT projects. I know fans they're killing it on the podcast on Tuesdays and Thursdays. At Steve Austin BSR is Twitter. I don't know anything else. Tell them. You want to give them your ATM number or your driver's license number or your home number, anything else, or are we good?
How about I give this to them, to the Ross Report fans, probably some common demographics between this show and my show.
Yep.
I appreciate you having me on. I'll catch your ass down the road.
All right, Steve, thanks very much. You're just the best. That's all I can say. Stone Cold Steve Austin, ladies and gentlemen, WWE Hall of Famer. His podcast right here on PodcastOne every Tuesday and Thursday. So don't miss out on that. And I want to thank all you guys for downloading my show. We've roared out of the blocks. It has been more than we ever dreamed it would be. The show is doing great, and that's because of you guys. It's really been an amazing situation for us here in the Ross Report. And, it's hard to believe that, you come this far and how things have progressed. And, you have my run at WWE for 20-plus years, and I was in the business 19-plus years before I got to WWE. So it's been a 40-year love affair with the pro wrestling business, and now to have the opportunity to interview so many people like Stone Cold Steve Austin here this week. Next week, as a matter of fact, we're going to be talking to one of the most unique individuals that you're ever going to listen to. He's no stranger to I'm sure many of you, and I'm talking about Mauro Ranallo. Mauro is the play-by-play voice of Showtime Championship Boxing, but he started off as a 16-year-old doing some announcing for Al Tomko in the Vancouver territory back in the day. Also did some work for Stampede Wrestling. Was a broadcast partner with Bad News Allen. Has done Pride Fighting, has done Strike Force Fighting, and now is the play-by-play voice of Showtime Championship Boxing. He's the guy you hear on those amazing Floyd Mayweather fights. So we'll have Mauro on next week here on the Ross Reports. Hope you'll listen then. I do want to remind you that, you've heard me talk about these sponsors. The thing about doing a podcast or doing anything where you put your name with it, you want to make sure that you're surrounded by, number one, a great company, and PodcastOne certainly is that. They're the leader. It's the only game in town as far as I'm concerned, talking about PodcastOne. Second thing is I don't want to be associated with advertisers that I'm not familiar with or I haven't done any due diligence with, or just for the hell of it, they're a sponsor. I'm I've always been uncomfortable with that environment. And so what we have now is a situation where, before we went on the air, I had a chance to get to know my sponsors. And so all the folks that you hear advertising on my show are people that I have interacted with. They are people that I trust. They're people that represent themselves in a upright and proper way. So help our sponsors when you can, and it's much appreciated here. Now, for example, if you're looking for an easy way to support the Ross Report, just click on to my Amazon link whenever you do any shopping online. Just go to PodcastOne.com, click on the Ross Report, and then click on the Amazon banner. Now, every time you click on to Amazon through my page, Amazon kicks back a couple of bucks to our show so that we can keep doing this for free. I like that word free, for free every single week. We want to keep our podcast free. We can do that with a little bit of your help by clicking on to that Amazon banner when you do your shopping. You're still going to get the great savings. There's no hidden fees. There are no gimmicks. There's no extra costs. You still get the same great Amazon prices, the same great Amazon services. You just help the Ross Report in the process. So I hope you'll check that out with Amazon. I hope you enjoyed today's show with Stone Cold Steve Austin. And next week we'll be back with Mauro Ranallo. So it's been fun as usual. We're learning as we go along. We're going to get better at this. I'm having a blast. I hope I see you in New York City on March 1st for Ringside with Jim Ross, or maybe down in New Orleans during WrestleMania week at the House of Blues on Thursday, April the 3rd. A lot of great things are going on. My writing at foxsports.com. I'll be talking about WrestleMania, writing about WrestleMania coming up. So until next week, everybody, thank you very much for being with us. Have a wonderful week. Be good to others, and I'll talk to you again here next week on the Ross Report.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.